What's up, everybody? Josh Lucas, the coach, the self-proclaimed armchair quarterback of the Cleveland Browns, the pinnacle of that position, if I don't mind saying so myself. This is the last video that you're going to get about the Browns versus Jets game. I just want to address some of the blame that's being thrown out there, in my opinion, erroneously. The first one is Nick Chubb. I have a hard time blaming Nick Chubb. With a minute and 55 seconds left, he scored a touchdown, and people are saying that he should have stepped out of bounds or gave himself up so that the Browns could kneel out the clock. And obviously, hindsight being 2020, that would have resulted in a Browns win. But I can't blame him specifically because just like when he scored with a minute and 55, everybody thought that was the icing on the cake that was going to create an insurmountable lead that put the game away. He thought that touchdown was going to be the dagger in the coffin, so to speak, just like we all did. Okay. Now, Chubb has a history of, if you remember, I believe it was in his rookie season, it may have been his sophomore season, where similar situation, he's racing down the sideline and he steps out at the 1 in order to let the Browns kneel out the clock. That was a little bit different of a situation because he got through the meat and potatoes of that play. He broke through the offense. He was able to get into a straightaway for 20 or so yards where you have that split second to be able to think about what should happen, what's the smart move to do, so on and so forth, and he stepped out accordingly. The run by Nick Chubb that with a minute and 55 left, he was not even out of the defense. It was to the point where he would had to have given himself up in the middle of the Jets defense, and without that being a predetermined plan of action, I don't put it past him. I don't blame him. All right, for scoring. Now, if you want to blame Stefanski for not relaying that to Chubb, okay, I can bite on that a little bit better. That one's a little bit easier to swallow, but I don't blame Stefanski either. I mean, you think about our offense over the last 2 weeks, and we are scoring on most of our drives, which is something that we haven't been able to say in Cleveland for a long time. And a lot of that is with a backup quarterback in Jacoby Brissett, and it's because of the play calling of Stefanski. And I know that's not a popular opinion for some people who just have decided that Stefanski is a problem after last year, but the dude is doing everything that he should be doing. And I don't really care if you agree with me or not, but that's the case. The other thing that I wanted to talk about, and I'm just going to give you a quick lesson on coverages if you don't already know it. I call myself the coach because I coached football for 15 years, a lot of it on the defensive side of the ball. So the pass to Corey Davis, which is the first touchdown that the Browns gave up, and it's a clear blown coverage. A lot of people are jumping down Grant Delpit's throat and saying that it was his fault, and there's a reason why we don't know for sure if it was. Okay, at that point, you're not playing a prevent defense. You may be in strictly a zone defense to try and keep things in front of you, but that's not necessarily the same as a prevent defense. Prevent defense is typically cover 4, where you have your corners and safeties all playing a quarter of the field. If you think about it from left to right, you have a corner that's playing from the sideline to the hash, safety that's playing from the hash to midfield, another safety playing from midfield to the other hash, and another corner playing from the hash to the sideline, all the way across. Nobody gets beat deep. It's to prevent any deep shot, right? But with being up 13 points with a minute and 55 left, yes, they're probably going to be taking some shots, but you're also going to mix in some other zones in there too, because you're not playing strictly or you're not playing strictly prevent defense, because if you play strictly prevent defense, you're leaving the middle of the field, the screen passes. You're leaving a lot open to be able to march down the field to get that first score, right? It's not down to the last few seconds of the game where you're going to be getting a Hail Mary, you're going to be getting a deep shot. So you have to have some sort of mixing up of zones, right? So if you're in cover 4, then that's not Delpit's man. That's not the person. That's not the area of the field where it was being thrown to. If it was cover 4, then it would actually be Denzel Ward's fault. Okay. Cover 2 is you have two safeties playing halves, deep halves. So from midfield to sidelines on both sides, both your safeties are responsible for not getting beat deep, and then your corners are free to do different things. Lots of times people play cover 2 and they blitz a corner, and then they send an outside linebacker to the flat. Sometimes they just let their corners sit in the flat. Sometimes they jam and act like they're playing man and then let them release. But to get it, the deep ball responsibility on that cover 2 defense are your free safety and your strong safety. If we were in cover 2, then it is Delpit's fault. And then the last one that you're probably going to be in, and there's probably 13 different zones that you could be in, but realistically it was probably one of these 3, is cover 6. And cover 6 is just cover 2 to one side of the field and cover 4 to the other side of the field. And which side of the field gets the cover 4 treatment and the cover 2 treatment changes depending on offensive alignment, wide receiver strength, where the ball is on the field, whether it's on the left side of the hash or the right side of the hash. There's a lot of different things that can change which side of the field is cover 2, which side of the field is cover 4. So because of that, we don't know who's at fault. Now, in the post-game press conference, Stefanski mentions youth being an issue specifically on that play, saying that we have a young team and sometimes the youth shows up, and kind of made it sound like it was probably a younger player that was at fault. And if that's the case, then it probably was Delpit, but we just don't know. We weren't in the huddle. We don't know what the defense was, so we can't assign blame to know who missed that coverage, right? Joe Woods, if you want to blame Joe Woods, I can understand that. In my opinion, Joe Woods' pass defense has never been strong. I feel like we have the skill set and the players to have a very good pass defense, and everybody thinks that. I mean, there's a reason why everybody says that our secondary should be strong, but they just never seem to play up to their potential. And I think a lot of that has to do with he's a very conservative coverage caller. So he'll get after the quarterback and he'll send some blitzes and that kind of stuff, but in his coverages, he's conservative. In my opinion, the best bet would be to play man and let our pass rushers get after the quarterbacks. That's it. You can blame Cade York if you want to, but he's a rookie kicker. He kicked a game winner last week. He's going to kick a lot of field goals in Cleveland. But this is going to be a wake-up call for him. Of course, if he would have made it, then it would have made it harder for the Jets to come back. But there's not a guarantee that the Browns win, even if he makes that extra point. Maybe it forces them to go for 2, and maybe we win, maybe we lose. Maybe it goes into overtime and we lose in overtime. I mean, you just don't know. So I can't put the blame on Cade York, and I can't put the blame on the special teams, because a onside kick is chaos. That's all it is chaos. You can't practice chaos very effectively. You can spend time doing it, but because it's chaos, because you can't replicate things, you can't determine what the ball is going to do on the ground, where it's going to be kicked, how it's going to react. It's the only play, in my opinion, that you can't replicate in practice. And you have defensive strategies, you have offensive play sets that you can practice until you're blue in the face and they become second nature, so that they're like muscle memory. And that's why you hear about quarterbacks and wide receivers getting on the same page so much, to the point where balls are being thrown before a wide receiver even makes his break. It's because it's repetition. It's something that you can practice on a repeat basis. But a onside kick is you put the ball in the position to go crazy. You either spin it and you don't know where it's going to end up, or you try to pop it up. In this case, they tried to spin it. They misdirectioned you. They kicked you into a situation, or they kicked in a direction where you didn't think they were going to be. And then once the ball is on the ground, it's just chaos, and it becomes luck. And the Browns didn't get lucky. So the moral of the story is there's a lot of people to blame, but there's also no one person to blame, right? Because if everybody did what they were supposed to do, then there wouldn't have been an onside kick, right? You can't put the blame on one person. You can't put the blame on Nick Chubb. You can't put the blame on Stefanski. You can't put the blame really on Joe Woods. But I guess if there's any one person to take the blame because he's in charge of the entire defense that let off 13 points, it would be Joe Woods. But to put it on a player, you can't do it. And the last thing I'm going to say is you can't blame Myles Garrett for his comments about booing. He said he was disappointed hearing the Browns fans boo and give up on the team. What do you want him to be? Happy about it? Like, what do you want him to say? I really enjoyed hearing the boos? No. I mean, I guarantee you that he's more pissed off and mad about losing that game than we are as fans. I guarantee it. You don't become Myles Garrett. You don't become that level of an athlete without a just completely superior competitive drive. Like, you can say he's getting paid millions of dollars no matter what, so maybe he didn't care if they win or lost. That's not the type of person who becomes Myles Garrett. You know what I mean? The best of the best aren't okay with just a paycheck. There's too much competitive drive. So, was it in poor taste? Should he have thought of saying something, wording it differently? Should he have said something about, like, man, no, it's disappointing to hear the boos, but I understand? Or, I don't know what he should have said, but I don't blame him for saying it. Was he supposed to be happy about the boos? No. That's all I got to say. On to the Steelers. Hopefully this video and the tones of my videos next week will be a little bit more lively and a little bit more joyous, coming off of a stomping of the Pittsburgh Steelers. My prediction for that game, you know what, that'll be a different video. Save it for later. See you guys later. Peace out.